Hello, Jimjamatic here. Welcome to a brand new episode of Robot Wars episode reviews. Heat J, Series 5. I'm finally back after, I don't know, about a month of not doing anything.
You've been holding it off.
I've been holding it off because A, I knew who was going to have talking about it, you just heard, and B, a certain robot that I'd finally get to talk about. Of course, it's Mini Morg now. Joining
Could
me
be worse. You could be killing yourself over Patreon or something.
Oh god, that could be worse, yes. Joining me today is 10T Jester, Owain.
Can you start recording, please?
No.
Oh.
No.
You stuck it. You're the one who wanted to be on this episode, so tough shit. I've got to keep you in the basement afterwards, so you know what you gotta do. And also joining me is Mark Smith, aka FreyFox.
Hello.
So short and to the point. I like it. It's brilliant. Oh, if only all my podcasts were like that. Oh well. So yes, this is Heat J coming off Heat I, which was interesting.
I forgot who was in Heat Eye.
That was the 3 Stacks to Heaven one, and the less we talk about that heat, the better.
Oh, fuck. I could break another laptop if you want.
No, it's fine. We don't have to break more laptops. It's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, this was a heat that has a lot of familiar faces from the last series that actually were new in the last series, surprisingly, and a former champion, and some not so good new robots. But of course,
Including one that James would later marry and have wild, passionate sex with.
yes, according to this guy on here, apparently. And he's also responsible for the thumbnail of this video. So if you love the fan art, then obviously go and pay commissions to Owain, because
Oh, I'll gladly take anyone's money.
it's beautiful. What, you're not actually drawing anything, just take the money.
Yeah.
Donations are always welcome to the FreyFox Patreon.
Bit of plugging there. Yes, nothing wrong with a good plug or 5. But of course, the winner of this was
Welcome to the Jimjamatic show, where we just hijack it and advertise our own shit.
Yes, indeed. And as I was going to
Sorry. I'm just copying what Stephen McCullough does with his Doctor Who videos.
Oh, I see.
Because I guested on one of his Doctor Who videos, and I was just sort of mumbling as I was scrunching the Scotland flag, and then he just goes, Doctor Who! Next time I'm going to say that.
As I was going to say, of course, the former reigning champion, and of course, probably the best robot in this heat, let's face it, Panic Attack, of course.
Ah, fuck you. The best robot in the heat was Welsh.
So?
Ah.
Well, the winner overall wasn't Welsh, so okay. But
who cares where the best robot in the heat comes from, as long as it's not Belgium
okay, that is a good point.
or Germany or basically as long as it's in the UK. I don't.
Well, if the Germans win, we have to call it as Raw, don't we? Cough.
Well, if the Germans win, it just shows that we have to up our game a bit, but it's not come to that yet. So anyway,
No,
we
Panic wasn't even a fucking German robot.
No, no, it wasn't. It wasn't
and we've never had a Scottish robot win Robot Wars yet, have we? No.
yet. Oh no, it was Typhoon. Wasn't Typhoon?
Oh yes, of course. Typhoon was
I was
Scottish.
about to say.
You forgot about the Edinburgh Air Cadets. But anyway, we're rambling a bit because I guess.
But that's because I'm so angry about Series 7 results. No offense, Gary. No offense, Gary Cairns. I love BP3D. Anyway, Panic Attack.
Panic Attack.
Panic Attack. This is the best version of Panic Attack. Full stop. It's the most reliable one. It's got the stronger lifting perks now. They can lift up to 180 kilograms or so. I think it's 180 according to Kim Davis. Maybe 10 off, give or take. It's also got this inventive new lid on the top, which is a self-righter, but it also doubles as a sort of clamp, so you can sort of grapple onto another robot and lift another robot. It's kind of superfluous in a way, but it's pretty cool to see in action nonetheless.
It's a really cool, like, it really just attests to how perfected Kim Davis has made Panic Attack over the years, because, like, I mean, the Series 4 and 5 versions of Panic Attack, particularly the Series 5 ones, were, like, when Panic Attack was really at its peak, like, really a true control robot. Like in Series 2 it was definitely good because it won the series, but obviously it could always be improved. In Series 3 I didn't have the gyro capability, so it was a bitch to drive. Even Kim Davis admitted it was terrible to drive. I mean, he drove in the pit in the World Championship, so
oh yeah,
it says a lot. And he only beat Thing 2 because they went on the spike.
Yeah.
But and Series 6, we don't talk about Series 6's version of Panic Attack. But
Series 4 was a good one.
Series 4 was good.
Right.
The only difference with Series 4 and 5 on was mostly a bit of weight increase and better forks, really, in the mechanism for it, and also the self-writer, really.
The only thing I liked about Series 6 was the colour, and that's largely because it was an accident.
Yeah, I believe it was an accident, wasn't it? Like, it just wasn't meant to be like gold.
They ordered the wrong paint.
So basically, it was like a Kilotron thing from Series 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they just rolled with it.
The thing is, gold isn't that much different from yellow. It would have been worse if they'd come with shocking pink or something.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit of a brutal demise when they ended up getting like the panel ripped off by Matilda and just axed by terahertz until they were just.
Like,
it still survived the drop from the drop zone though.
It's like they see Panic Attack in the heats in the pits, and they realize they ordered the wrong color. And it's like, why is it blue? Is it shiny?
Yeah, gold it's shiny. Yeah, but. I guess really, in terms of Panic Attack, there isn't actually as much we could say that we haven't said before about Panic Attack in a way, because it's just this is definitely the peak of Panic Attack before Series 6 and 7 kind of went down a little bit. It wasn't as nothing goes as bad as something like Twister or 3 Seconds to Heaven. It's nowhere near that level of downgrade, but it's not. It was never as good as it used to be in those series.
Yeah, this is where it peaked, definitely. Panic Attack started out as a good Rambot, pusher bot in Series 2, and didn't really adopt the control bot aesthetic until, I think it was Series 3, Series 4. I think the first time we saw it actually functioning as a control bot was when it picked up Overkill GTI in Series 4, although I may be mistaken.
Did they even use their forks once in Series 2?
No, they used it once. I think they used it once against Whirling Dervish, and that was it.
Yeah.
I think that was the only time they ever used them. Most of the time it just rammed into robots.
They must have used the forks against Exterminator and Axios, not really to control them, but rather to just flip them over. I think they went... But in this heat, in Series 5, the control bot aesthetic really comes through here, because that's pretty much how they win all their battles.
Yeah, it's a very, there's a difference between a robot that's kind of boring, like Razor, that kind of just does the same thing over and over again, just crushing... Maybe pick up onto the fire and then put them down again, only to crush them again. And there's robots like Panic Attack that actually do. It's more. It just feels more controlled, a lot more kind of like finesse, and like Kim Davis is just a great driver, so it looks more impressive.
It's a shame this is the last time, or the last series that we ever see Kim Davis at his best, really, with Panic Attack, because in Series 6, of course, he entered with an inferior machine that he wasn't happy with, and in Series 7, he wasn't in the team at all.
Yeah, it was Kevin Pritchard, who was also with him on Series 2, but also made Evil Weevil, was the driver captain in Series 7.
And they got rid of the self-righting mechanism in Series 7.
What a perfect idea that was.
Yeah.
Jesus. I mean, I don't know. I mean, just like Kevin Pritchard has not had a very good run in Robot Wars, in my sake, because apart from Evil Weevil in Series 3. Like, in terms of like his own robots, or at least ones he's like been in charge of, as opposed to just being like part of the team. He's just don't let him be in charge of a team, please. For love of Christ. I don't hate him. I love him. I'm joking.
He made the decision to get rid of the self-righting mechanism, and then it was like, oh, who are we up against? Dan on Kia.
Fuck. And also, he was the guy who thought half-charge batteries will work in Series 4.
Yeah. They put a sort of shock-resistant cushion top on in place of the self-righter, probably anticipating another battle with a robot like Terahertz, and it was all to waste.
Yeah. So why wouldn't you just put that shock-resistant panel on top of the self-righter?
This is a good point.
It's kind of
the weight limit is strict.
Yeah, it's kind of funny in the end though that Terahertz didn't even get to compete in Series 7.
I know. And who was their last opponent? Dan Tom Kia.
The giant flipper. Yeah, that's gonna work. It's like they see Dan Tomke, they managed to scrape through. Like if they were like in the first round, they scrape through. Who's our next opponent? Gravity. Just right. That's it. I'm done. Like there was so many flippers in Series 7, so it's just like a lot of good power. You had Atomic, M2, Gravity, Dan Tomke, Grim Reaper, Firestorm. There's just so many.
Ripper.
Yeah, just so many fucking flippers in Series 7 that they could easily have just got beaten by. So
Rhubarb, that's another one.
Spawn again as well, but.
They had two flippers in their heat. Yeah. Mega Morg and Robo Chicken.
Or Mega Morg. I mean, Robo Chicken, I'll give more credit to. But I mean, is there anything else to say about Panic Attack, really, or is it just kind of? It's at its peak, really. I guess that's the most important part about Panic Attack in Series 5.
I'd say it's a good, solid, reliable robot and very well built. Not much else to say, really.
The opposite applies to the Heat finalist.
Cat 3.
The robot, I don't even think really. How did this thing get to the Heat final?
Because not Dan. Major Tom wanked itself.
Yes,
And Mini Morg didn't work in the first place.
Another Welsh robot.
Shut up.
Oh, oh, okay, got the spec.
Hey, come on. We've got Overdoser and Worm, for God's sake, but I love those robots. So.
Yeah, in fairness, the closest robot to me, the two closest robots to me were Bolt from the Blue and Megahertz, so, you know.
You also said Big Nipper was really close to you, and that's a really good robot.
Yeah, they're the closest good robot to me. that was the emphasis. The closest robots to me are Megahertz from Preston and Kendall's Bolt from the Blue with the cake. But of course, Cat 3, this is the third time we've seen Cat 3, hence the name, but this is the first time we've seen it without tracks in any form, and it's funny because...
The only continuity it has with its predecessors, apart from the name, is that it's got orange tiger stripes like the original Caterkiller did.
Yeah, and then that weird kind of polycarb Caterkiller from Series 4. Where
it literally had bed springs inside it.
Yeah, and the self-righter that didn't actually self-right. I mean, it's beautiful. I mean,
it's a complete redesign. It's sorry, what you were saying?
I was saying this is before they kind of chose that Dominator 2 look.
It's a per man. Cat 3 is a per man's Dominator 2. Period. In this series, though, it's shaped a bit like a trapezoid, with a steeper wedge at the front and the wedge at the back. Well, it's not really a wedge because it's a blocky bit that sticks up a bit. But they've gone from tracks to wheels, which is a good decision, I think, because it's made the robot a bit easier for them to control. It's a bit more fluid on the arena floor. And they've switched from a lifting weapon to an axe. And it's a long axe. It's not necessarily a particularly good axe, but it does work at least, although sometimes it has been prone to sort of stalling by the look of it.
It was shallow on the inside, wasn't it?
There was no base plates, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. That's a bad thing with flame pits everywhere.
It's a bad thing in the Heat final later on, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah, of course. I mean,
didn't these guys see that they were in the Heat with Panic Attack, and Panic Attack beat Exterminator, who didn't have a base plate?
That is true. I mean, always put a base plate on your robots, please.
Especially against Panic Attack.
Definitely.
I was thinking robots that don't have base plates. What on earth do all the components rest on?
They just hang on like the frame or something, I'm guessing.
I suppose.
I don't know.
I remember there was a robot in Series 3 called Shrapnel that didn't have a base plate.
Oh, Shrapnel, yes.
And if you look at the photo on the wiki of its internals, they're held to the chassis frames by zip ties.
Oh, my favorite one was Atomic in Series 4, where it was so like empty inside because of the weight, because they had to reduce the weight that the wheels would just bounce out of everywhere, like the suspension was too springy.
So the Killer Lock crushed it, literally.
Yeah, I mean, Cat 3. I mean, the one thing I think its axe is just way too long. Like, it just seems like it never seems to be able to really. It never really hit anything with its axe.
Well, Keith Williams, the captain, he said the reason why they had the long axe in one of the post-match interviews was because the longer the axe, the more momentum it has. But the head of the axe looks very thin and lightweight, so I don't think you're going to get much momentum out of that.
No, and the axe did seem to not have much power behind it either, because it did seem to just kind of fall on robots. And it hit I mean, the majority of the time it would just hit them with the bar, not the actual axe head, like Major Tom and Mini Morg. It just sort of glanced at, and it was no chance against Panic Attack, really. Having
said that, I was very pleased to see them win the first round battle, because this team did not win its first round battle in either the Series 3 or Series 4. A distinction shared with Prize Fighter, another robot that did get to the Heat final in Series 5 and finally had its moment.
Yeah.
So that was really something. It was nice to see them win.
Yeah, and also it's nice to lose to a good robot like Panic Attack. I mean, it says in Series 4 they lost to Tornado and Gemini. It's not a big... That's fine. Napalm...
Yeah, you could tell just by looking at the battle board who was going to lose that fight.
Yeah, I think it's just more sad they lost to Napalm in Series 3.
That was a very controversial judge's decision, and even the crowd booed, and Mentorn didn't edit that booing out like they did with Typhoon and what's his name? Storm.
Yeah.
To be fair, though, who honestly watched that fight all the way through?
The fight was boring as balls.
Well, I did watch it all the way through, but I was 11 years old, and back then I didn't know any better.
There's a reason that fight is considered one of the worst of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Cat 3... This is obviously the sort of, like, in-between phase between looking like Dominator 2 and sort of just being this kind of pyramid axe bot thing. But... I mean, hell, at least it made a Heat final.
I mean, the Series 6 they did make a Heat final in Series 7 as well, with the more pointy Dominator 2 shape. And they meet the second round in Series 6, so they've always been solid Heat semi-final, Heat finalists ever since then. And this was the first one, mostly down to luck rather than anything else. But a win's a win. So
in conclusion, get rid of the tracks, and your robot will be better. Apparently, according to this
probably explains why most people don't use tracks these days. But well,
no, there's not that many anymore, really, because they're more.
Hell,
they're
even
very
Bike
prone.
Force went from tracks to wheels.
They're just very prone to breaking, and because
even Limpet went from tracks to wheels, and it's been a lot better for them since then.
Well, Limpet also shrank, so
Yes.
Yeah, he's now
The new slimline Limpet.
Beetle Limpet is a lot better than its
looking
predecessor.
for a diet plan, try the Limpet plan.
Oh, you've got to pitch that to John Denny. That's great.
I'm sure you'll love that. And actually, speaking of upgrades, Tiberius 2.
Oh, I thought you were
What's
going
an
to
upgrade?
talk about Major Tom then.
No, I'm talking about actual upgrades, not just making them bigger. I mean, Tiberius 2, the original one was just this giant plexi wooden box with this little kind of spike on it. It wasn't.
I really like that version, actually.
I liked it was probably the better first. That was a very. I was gonna say it's one of the best robots in that heat, but that was a really bad heat. So, but even it was okay. It wasn't too bad. But and then this one is just like they don't look like the same robot.
It looks so much. I think the weapon looks so much more badass this time. It looks like it could actually do damage.
Yeah, and I'm just still bitter about Series 6, but whatever.
It was still nice to see that even back then Sam Smith had the mayor face.
Yeah, and he was still a good driver as well. Like he lasted way longer against Panic Attack than I thought he would, and even managed to get a bit of a crush on them. So it was.
And they have a really good match a couple of years later against M2.
Oh, that was a really good fight, and like I said, I mentioned a second ago, I'm very bitter about how they performed in Series 6. God damn it, the lucky flip from Spawn again.
Oh, don't talk about Spawn again.
I don't want to, but we'll have to in the future again at some point.
Well, you can have me off the show for those episodes, thank you.
Don't worry, I will not invite you.
Thank you. Oh wait, Supernova's on an episode with Spawn again in the future. Fuck!
I think one of the obvious drawbacks with Tiberius 2 was the fact that this weapon, whilst it was capable, was still a bit on the slow side. It's slower than Razor's weapon.
Yeah, it was, and also the lack of self-writer did kind of.
Yeah.
They added one later on in the other series, but it just looks like it's just begging to be flipped over.
It looks very top-heavy, doesn't it? It's got a high center of gravity.
It looks top-heavy, but it doesn't seem to be actually that bad, considering the Panic Attack managed to get, didn't flip it over in the end.
It couldn't flip it over, no.
No, it looks like one of those robots that will fall over in 2 seconds, but against, it's actually reasonably well balanced. We never got to see the potential of how much damage it could have done in this series with its crusher, because all it really did was go through from, millimeter armor on monads, so we can't really judge that as capable. And it got a little pinch.
Robots didn't really have hard ox armor in those days, did they? So
no, but even that then, you could probably get Razor was still able to get for the armor that was being used at the time. So we never really got to see it go against a proper good bit of armor. And the one time it went against Panic Attack, it just got the flippers.
Yeah, they got into that bit and couldn't really do any proper damage. So they had to try another go, and they couldn't get underneath them this time.
Yeah,
you guys realize you've been calling it the wrong name all this time, right? Wasn't Tiberius 2 in this heat?
Yeah.
It's Tiberius the Emperor.
Oh, I'm sorry. I generally thought I made a mistake then, but no.
For some reason they called it Tiberius the Emperor in this, and then never went back to the Emperor name after.
Well, Craig Charles did say the Emperor's been dethroned when it lost, but that was it. It's the only time they mention it.
I'm pretty sure it says Tiberius 2 on the battle board, and it says T2 on the robot itself.
Yeah, I don't remember ever calling it Tiberius then. I swear it was always just called Tiberius 2. Yeah. It's sort of like how Ming the Merciless was always just called Ming, even though they kept trying to call it Ming the Merciless. It was never called Ming the Merciless, ever.
I think it's one of those cases where they try to give it a really long fancy name, but people just keep calling it the simplified version.
It's like in ant-weight battles and stuff, for example. Like Harry Tugwell's robot having big dreams, but no realistic way to achieve them is simply just called having big dreams.
Yeah.
And also, Alex Shakespeare's robot, The Surprising Adventures of Sir Digby Chicken Caesar, is simply just referred to as Sir Digby.
I would so call it the full name every time, though.
Oh yeah.
And my robot, my ant-weight robot Jester, his full name is actually Jester Mischief Maker, but people just call it Jester.
JMM.
It's easier.
Yeah, it's also technically the second robot to have the T2 on their robot after, well, T2.
Almost a tank engine with a mohawk.
Yeah, exactly.
And then to show how lazy some people are, my ant-weight pusher, Proxima Centauri, some people just call it Proxima. Sometimes I just call it Proxy.
Proxy.
Yes.
You can say it got in by proxy, I guess.
Yes.
But Tiberius 2, I mean, thankfully for the rest of the series, they keep this kind of basic design. Like, the original one was, like, not bad, but it was way too big. Like, and also it seemed to, and also it's just that, that plexiglass look from, like, the Series 4 era just didn't age very well.
It looks more, the newer one in this series looks more aesthetically pleasing.
Definitely. It looks more like a competitive robot. That one was like, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't like, you could tell it was their first go or something.
Yeah.
It was also nice to see Tiberius still fighting 16 years later in BattleBots.
Yeah.
Photon Storm.
Of course, yes. And also seeing Sam Smith part of Carbide as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, the guy knew how to pick good robots, at least. And
He's
then
somebody who evolved his skill with time.
Oh, definitely. But it was also good to see that he hadn't really lost any driving. He still had driving skill even when he was, younger. So, although he got it perfected with Carbide, really.
Just wait to see what that Tyler guy from Captain Doom is like in about 10, 15 years' time, I suppose, with bigger robots. It's going to be quite scary, I think.
Oh yeah,
Jesus.
especially with all the experience he's got. And then Owain did allude to this robot before from upgrades. I guess you can call them upgrades. Major Tom.
It went from a barrel to a dodgem. How can you not call that an upgrade?
It's bigger. I mean, it actually has a weapon this time.
Yeah,
It's back.
It's a vertical spike. Oh yeah, the head grew back. And Shunt didn't get to smash it off this time. He didn't get a chance.
I know, that was so sad.
Oh,
Shunt was denied his party piece.
The cool thing about it, though, is that, I mean, this says more about Kryptonite than it does say about Major Tom. They actually managed to cause damage with this thing. I think the only time Major Tom has ever caused damage to anything.
Except for itself.
Excluding itself, yes. I'm talking about all the robots, I mean. But it's kind of...
I think the bumper car looks really good on Major Tom, actually. It was a bit weird to adjust to at first, but it does kind of work.
Yeah, I do like it, because it kept this similar look for Series 6 as well. Like, with the roll cage on it added to it. And it just looks kind of, like, really fun. And the Series 7 version, I don't really know what was happening with that one. Honestly, like, it's kind of like the wedge thing.
That looked awful with the head just tacked on like at the last minute or something like
you
an
could tell
afterthought.
the head was literally just blue tacked on to the very end of the robot.
And it fell off within like 2 seconds of the match as well, so they didn't even get cheap blue tack on it.
That's literally how long they lasted in that match. Was about 2 seconds.
Well, that was the quick. I think that was the quickest like 4-way battle ever.
It's the quickest 4-way eliminator in Robot Wars history.
It doesn't surprise me because Diabolus got destroyed and flipped, and Major Tom got flipped like in 2 seconds. So
yeah,
it was
And
quite.
Diabolus was built by the same people who built Kryptonite, and both teams were from the Isle Happy.
And they both ended up getting destroyed in the same match. I mean, I was kind of hoping for some good rematch there, but obviously Tsunami and
rematch, really.
Well, okay, a rematch then.
With Diabolus and Major Tom's Series 7 version.
Okay, high expectations aside. I do love the look of the Series 5 Major Tom. I don't know why, I love the little flags on the back as well, and it's so British, isn't it? It's just
Rule Britannia! That's what it's like.
It's basically what it is. It's the most British robot ever, and I love it for it. I
love the fact that Major Tom, when it was qualifying, wasn't actually meant to be draped in Union Jacks and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was like just this kind of like black.
It was meant to be based off like a spaceship or something.
Yeah, the Series 3 one that failed to qualify, which is pretty much almost identical apart from this weird like grabber weapon on it, like was this whole like polka dot colour. And then in Series 4 it was like a black colour with just the word Major Tom written in and like some like spaceship like rob blasters on the side. And then that explains the weird like track parts on the side. And just said they must have gone, if you change the design we'll let you through, and just made this weird bobblehead Union Jack robot and it looks way better. So and it just stuck with that. From on in, and I think they're better for it, honestly, because it's more entertaining.
It looks like the sort of plucky good guy from the Second World War film or something, like The Great Escape. That's what makes me think, in a way.
Yeah. And also, I love
In all seriousness, though, Major Tom is one of those robots that you instantly remember as being one of the comedy entrants of the original series.
It's a comedy entrant, but at least apart from Series 7, it never failed to get past the first round, at least. Like, it wasn't just there just for fodder.
But then they never got beyond the second round either.
No, they never got to the second round either. But in fact, they could have got past the second round in this heat, but then shenanigans happened. So...
Yes. Bad driving. I mean, in the arena and stuff, if you're going to hit the pit release button, do not drive straight onto where the pit is.
No, that is a terrible idea.
So perfectly in the pit as well.
It was destined for the pit. I was just disappointed that Shun never got his hands on the or his axe on the head at any point.
Was Shunt even in that battle though? Was Shunt even drawn in that battle?
I don't think he was. No, I mean I don't remember the house robots being in there because they didn't just have to do anything really. They killed themselves. But one last thing I like about the design is that they kept the little, or at least if they didn't keep them on, they added them on later, was the lights on top of the bumper car, the front.
Oh yeah.
Still got the headlights on it for some reason.
Got a good sort of funfair feel to it and everything.
Yeah, it's one of those fun robots. I mean, it's one of the ones I do look at fondly, and I mean, apart from maybe the Series 7 one, the other ones are just kind of so dumb and over the top, they're kind of like funny, and the bumper car look is probably the best version.
Would it qualify as a joke robot, do you think? Like Diatio, because Diatio is technically a joke robot, but what's no joke is that it could take out some of the bigger names. Well, and Nuts, of course, is an example of a lethal joke robot.
Well, he can be a joke robot and also be good. I mean, using the word joke robot doesn't mean by definition they're going to be crap, because I mean, Diatio got better. Yeah,
look at Nuts.
Exactly, yeah, Nuts and as I mentioned, Nuts and Diatio. I mean, it's definitely one of the slightly middle ground ones. It's not like anything that like something like Tartan Terror or something, where you know that thing's never going to go anywhere. That's also a Scottish robot. I'm sure you enjoyed that one. I'm sure you enjoyed that thing.
You are a disgrace to this country.
Oh, what you good? And also, oh god, Hippopotamus is also Scottish.
Walk out of hell.
I'm Barber from the same team.
Oh, come on, Barber was awesome.
Abaddon's Scottish.
Yes, it was from Newton, Stewart, and Dumfries and Galloway.
Oh Jesus. I'm so sorry for your loss.
And Coyote is from Ayrshire.
There we go. Okay, it balances out then.
That robot's awesome.
Yeah, Coyote
and of course,
is awesome.
And Killy Cranky's from Caithness.
Oh yeah, they had Pussycat technically, originally, because technically you had Robin Herrick and stuff. So its origins are from Scotland at least. So you have something there.
And even more recently, Alex Mordew, his robot Soul Loser, he said he was from Edinburgh, so that's the only Scottish entry in Bugglebots, technically.
Hey, we'll count. We'll count. It'll count. It'll count. And then the other greatest Welsh robot of all time, and also yellow, coincidentally, Mini Morg. This
Not
thing
Mega
was
Morg, Mini Morg.
Yeah, Mini Morg. One thing I have to mention right off the bat about Mini Morg is
It didn't work.
Well, it didn't work. No, I mean the one from Extreme worked better than this one. The thing is, right? I love the team. I love Dorian and all that. R.I.P. Shame he's gone. I love the team. I love everything about them. They're fun. They're eccentric and etc. And they're very very Welsh. You know what I mean? They're probably the most Welsh team I can think of.
The inflatable sheep, I remember them.
Ninja Sheep, you can't forget Ninja Sheep. I mean, there's a lot of robots from Wales, but this is like the most
They
Welsh.
wore fucking rugby gear backstage.
Yeah, they did. They were no bones about it. They're sort of like the equivalent of Corkscrew, wearing all their kilts and stuff.
They sang Tom Jones songs.
Yeah, and they even put Anne Robinson on the front because she said bad things about Wales. I love that kind of stuff.
I love the team, but the robot is a pile of wank.
Yeah, the robot's not great, but here's the thing that really, after all that positive stuff, I have to say, I mean, this isn't really their fault. This is just something the producers gave them, but why are they seed 19? Seriously, why are they even seeded, let alone 19? Like, they did not deserve a seed. Like, I don't mind them coming back in the series, that's fine, but not as a... They're higher than Mousetrap, Suicidal Tendencies, 101...
Mousetrap and Suicidal Tendencies nearly beat Firestorm.
Well, I'd say nearly in the sense that Firestorm drove into the pit and they actually got into the second round because Scar broke down, and then Ming broke down. And also they're ahead of Smidsy and 101, one of which is a former semi-finalist, one that is a semi-finalist, and two of which actually made it to a heat final, one that did twice. And yet somehow they are above all of those robots. It baffles me why they're even got... If you're going to give them a seed, give them at least the very bottom. Like, if you really had to seed them.
I have a theory, but it's a very poor theory.
Go on.
Maybe it's because they were part of the winning team of the Tag Team Terror, perhaps?
Maybe? I mean, they didn't really contribute too much in the tag team either.
No, they competed in the first round, then had to pull out. But then Dietor never got seeded.
Yeah, well, Dietor, in fairness, its Series 4 performance was pretty bad.
Alawank.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
It did alright in the celebrity special, but that doesn't really count.
no, I saw like a kind of after-term like party type thing.
They had
Yeah.
Dick Reeves driving that.
Oh, that was funny with the arse and the frying pan and the glasses. You know, you got
They
to love
lost
that.
the Ian Deal.
Jesus. But yeah, there's no. I mean, Mini Morg. This one just didn't seem to like work properly. Like it just never seemed to like get going. Like it went one big like burst of speed at one point and just kept stopping. I think it must have traction.
It didn't really steer left or right either when it made its bursts of speed. It just sort of could only really go in a straight line.
My explanation for it is I think that the wheels seem a bit too close to each other. Like you can see they're just these giant wheels at the back that are sort of exposed at the bottom, and they just seem to be able to go forwards and backwards, and that's really it. Like it didn't seem like it seemed like they should have used the one they had in Extreme, which is closer to their Series 4 one, because at least that one actually worked. I mean, it wasn't great, but at least it worked.
The Morg series have always been known for being very clunky robots and clumsy.
They haven't been like the most well-made robots out there. Like they appeared a lot, but they've never like really made any waves. Like the team were great, but the actual robot itself has never actually, you know.
And isn't it ironic that their best robot was the robot that couldn't roll over?
Oh, that was funny. It
The
rolled
Series
over.
7 version.
Yeah, the Series 7 one. It was quite funny though. I think my favourite moment with the Morg team in the main series was when they were in Series 7. and they teamed up to take out Edgehog.
You can just feel the rage radiating off the Hedgehog team.
And they even managed to flip Edgehog over with their flipper, so it was at least a little bit better. And I love the fact that they teamed up with Panic Attack because they're just the two the yellow Welsh robots. They team up with them and get them in the pit. And it was that was a really fun moment.
The Series 7 version was alright. It was definitely the best robot, but it was just.
I don't remember
flat
the Series
to roll
7
over.
version at all because I'm not that keyed up on that series.
Oh, that's one that had like a giant panel flipper on the front. It was basically like the one they had in Series 5, but it was more like a solid plate. And it actually it could flip at least
they
one
also
robot over.
flattened the robot so it couldn't actually roll over.
No, but at least it was. I mean, that was the biggest disadvantage about it. But at least it actually was a bit faster and more maneuverable than the other one. And this one, the Series 4 version saw like the okay one. I mean, it didn't. I mean, it at least worked to a degree, but. And then this one was probably the worst one, the Mini Morg. But because I think they failed to qualify for Series 6, didn't they, or did they not compete?
Yeah, they failed to qualify, but they managed to get into the tag team with Exterminator.
Ah, yes, that was it. Also, one thing also I like about the team is that when they appeared in Techno games, they also wore like rugby gear and stuff.
And they made a catapult robot shaped like a rugby player.
No, it was the it wasn't the catapult. It was the high kick. It was like the penalty kick. Yeah, over like a rugby post. They came They got a joint silver medal with the Bigger Brother team. So it was actually a really impressive robot. It was goofy looking, but it actually worked really well. It just wasn't able to. It got to the same level as the Bigger Brother, so that was pretty good. And they also had their Torty, which is basically the two versions of Morg dressed up as like a tortoise in the football and in the sumo, and they didn't do well. They didn't do well on that one. But again, I love the team. I love the Ninja Sheep, but Mini Morg it's not very good.
It really was, as Jonathan Pierce put it, the weakest link.
Yeah. I mean, its weakness, unreliable, is quite an understatement.
Yeah.
I mean, it just sort of let Cat 3 push it into the pit by the end. It was like, we're not moving. We just can't do anything with this thing.
Fucking Plunderbird, for God's sake.
Yeah, that's pretty bad as well.
Yeah.
I mean, Plunderbird by Series 4 was just a massive joke, really, wasn't it? Like, in any way.
I think the team had resigned themselves to that sort of status, which is a shame, because I liked them being a Joker team, but a badass team as well in Series 2.
Yeah.
And then it just sort of goes down.
And it's a shame because their Series 5 robot wasn't actually that bad as well. So, I mean, it's probably their best version, so... Like, it was supposed to be anyone without... Again, get rid of the tracks. It's the rule. Get rid of the tracks, you make it better, apparently.
It lost superbly to S5. S3, sorry.
S3? S5? Oh, God. Is it
polycarbonate is not a good armament against spinners, like, in the heavyweight division.
Oh, God, no. Definitely not.
Polycarbonate was fun in Series 2 and Series 1 with the likes of Chaos and Robot the Bruce, but now it's... Yeah.
I guess it's all good about Mini Morg, I guess, if there's anything else we want to say about it.
Right, who's next?
Next is Good old barber-ous. One of my favorite robots of all time, may I add, because I just love this thing. I mean, this is obviously the weaker version of barber-ous because it's got the great spinner on it still, but it looks a bit wide,
Very bulky,
very wide. Like it's very kind of like stout. This version, like it's not as wide as the original.
The wheels look a bit thin as well. It's like the robot looks a bit taller and not as wide.
Well, actually,
the wheels are very thin. It's got these casters on the back that the future versions don't have. And those casters on the back proved to be a bit of its undoing as well, in fact, because they got pronged by Panic Attack, and then Sergeant Bash chewed them up as well.
Yeah, the thing about it was kind of weird because I couldn't tell which way was the front on this robot. Like, it seemed like the wheels were supposed to be the front, but it seems like a backwards idea.
I don't think even the team could tell either.
No, I mean, it's even hard to tell with the new other barber-ous is, where it's just same on either side, but the original barber-ous, definitely the wheels were the biggest disadvantage on it. Like, they thankfully trimmed it down a lot more, made it a lot bulkier in Series 6 and 7. And the fact that in Series 6 they managed to get beaten up by Hypnodisc, win their next battle, and then come back again into Hypnodisc and have another go against Hypnodisc was actually pretty commendable, I think.
Indeed.
Not even Razorblade did that.
And to be fair, they did do a bit of damage to Panic Attack as well. They rolled over the top of Panic Attack, and you could see quite a few chunks taken out of the top lifter arm as well.
They actually took out the weapon.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, and Kim Davis himself, he had a lot of admiration and respect for that robot, and Craig Charles did too. This was one of the best robots to have gone out in the first round in Series 5.
Yeah, against another robot. I know, and against Kryptonite, imagine that. That would have been beautiful. Or Rohog or something.
Oh yeah,
it'd been beautiful. Like I love everything about barber-ous. The funny thing was, sorry.
You think if it went to get Granny's Revenge, there would have been a bit of issue with entanglements or something?
Well, actually,
they did go up against Granny's Revenge.
Yeah, and they almost flipped him out of the arena with the giant drum. And then also they beat Cat 3 as well later on.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a weird coincidence.
Of all the robots in Series 5 that barber-ous could have gone up against and beaten superbly, they had to be drawn up against Panic Attack, didn't they?
Former reigning champion and at its peak of perfection at this point, of course.
And Craig Charles did say this was Craig did say this was an unlucky draw, a very unlucky draw for barber-ous because, well...
Oh, gosh, yes.
Yeah. It's like, you couldn't be drawn up against Decapitator or Black Widow or Tartan Terror or something like that.
It's sort of similar to how Gravedigger got up against Tornado or Big Nipper got up against Razor. It's like the worst robots to go against. Like, these two robots actually, because I think Gravedigger and Big Nipper also had decent potential, but of course...
They did.
They ended up against a former... the future champion... Two future champions. So it's kind of just... Wow.
I just hate how in this series you don't get a pre-match interview with the teams in the first round. It's not until the second round where they start talking to the teams and the teams introduce themselves properly.
I miss that.
Yeah.
I don't know why they excluded it from this series, really.
So you don't get to hear the barber-ous team talk about their robot. You don't get to hear the Minimog team talk or anything like that. You don't even get to hear the Monad team talk or the Kryptonite team talk, trying to big up their robot before it gets smashed to bits.
Like the least
what was there to big up, though?
I don't know, but the weapon's pretty good. You could big up barber-ous at least, weapon-wise. Like, I mean, also, even if they didn't do that, at least could have brought him into the pod, like, post-match, and give him a little bit of a talk.
They could have done, yeah.
Anything.
They would have done that if it had gone to a judge's decision, because that's what happened with 13 Black, because 13 Black went out in round 1 on a judge's decision, but we still got to hear John Denny have his say and stuff, so...
Yeah, they did it with all judge's decisions. They did that also with Trouble and Strife and Wild Thing as well. Actually, another robot. One. Yeah, another unlucky one. Although they did put more of a fight, at least. So it was like, that was definitely the biggest fight a newcomer came up with that lost.
Okay, here's a question.
All right.
All the really good robots that we've mentioned that went down round 1, Big Nipper, Gravedigger, barber-ous, and Trouble and Strife. If those 4 went into a match together, who do you think would win?
Good question. Assuming that they were all quite sturdy and relatively reliable, well, I know Lynx came out and stuff. Gosh, it's going to be a tough one to tell. To be honest, though, it depends what Gravedigger's arm is made out of, though, because Trouble and Strife could probably dent that quite a bit.
Yeah.
Barber-ous, who was the other one we mentioned? I forgot.
Big Nipper.
I think Big Nipper might have the edge, honestly. Like,
I would go
reliability-wise.
Big Nipper, but that's just biased because it's one of my favourite robots of all time.
Yeah. Also, I was just checking the wiki, actually. I looked at the stats for barber-ous in Series 7 versus Series 5, right? Barber-ous was just about 3/4 of a meter high in Series 7. It was just over a meter high in Series 5. So
It looked taller, didn't
it
it?
was taller, but also the width really gets me. This is the biggest surprise to me. Barbarous was 0.46 meters wide, and in Series 7 it was 1.15.
Oh,
Holy shit! That is about that's over double the width.
I kind of wonder if the statistics board guy in Series 5 may have been a bit economical with the truth there.
A little bit, 'cause it doesn't look like it's that much wide. That's the thing. I mean, I think I think it's just the drum that took most of the way up.
put it this way: I wouldn't trust the statistics guy in Robot Wars with my life.
No, because I've seen many shite battle boards in the past. I mean, this is the same battle board that called Chaos 2's weapon a flip up. And also, I think there was one, I can't remember which team it was. There was a team in Series 3 whose team members were completely copy and pasted from another robot that weren't related.
It was the prize fighter team, and their team members on the battle board was the Ratus team.
Oh god,
Jesus!
How did they manage that? They weren't even in the same bloody heat.
We're in the same heat, not even related, nothing to do with each other. Just wow.
Amateurs.
Jesus
But no,
Christ.
the Ratus team were listed for the prize fighter battle board.
It must seem quite weird, doesn't it? Because like you see, there's 2 members and there's 3 people there, and you go, what? And but whatever. Like they don't, wow.
It's
yeah.
not as bad.
Like...
It's not as bad as Flipper in Series 3.
Oh, Flipper! Yeah.
They introduced Flipper in Series 3 as a completely different team and robot.
Well, that's because Parthian Shot was once again failing to get the robot started.
I know, but you see them in the pits. It's a team of 3 dudes, and then you see.
I got that beat. I got that beat. I've got that beat. You know, in the Game Boy Color game, Arena, what's his name? Robot Wars Metal Mayhem.
Yeah.
Chaos 2, I think its weapon was listed as an axe rather than a flipper.
Yeah, and also, and King Bee's weapon, actually in this series, King Bee's weapon was described as a front spinner and rear spikes. Just why? Again, I mean, who pays these guys and they have to take a pay cut, clearly.
It's the BBC, you know, or Menton or something. I don't know.
I mean, whoever wrote it, please get glasses.
Was it Joe Watts before he learned how to read and write?
God, Jesus. Oh well. I mean, Barbarous. It's a great little robot. Good. It's decent. It was a decent show for its first time, and also considering it's quite a weird looking robot, they actually did some damage to Panic Attack, broke the weapon. Actually, and also they removed the most important part of Panic Attack, the little light.
The light.
Yeah, the light.
Yes, it did.
R.I.P. the little light. I mean.
That was the first thing to go.
Oh god, yeah, that's the most important part of Panic Attack. Actually, it was actually a fun fact. It was Barbarous. Was the whole reason why Panic Attack was scared of Shere Khan in their Annihilator qualifier. Was because they,
I find that fucking hilarious.
Yeah, because you hear that, because you hear him going, "Oh, they got a drum spin," and Tim Davis is really worried, and then you forget that Shere Khan's drum isn't that powerful. But you got to remember they fought Barbarous first, so it's understandable why they think maybe you hear drum spin without seeing the robot and go, "Oh, actually does sound pretty bad." But they saw it and just flipped over. It's like, okay, it wasn't that powerful clearly, but just a little fun fact in mind in terms of in terms of the order of the air versus the order you see them, I guess. So that was a little thing. This clip tonight.
The wheelbarrow.
Yeah, the wheelbarrow is made of tin foil. It seems like because this thing just melted. Like
it collapsed in on itself.
And Major Tom managed to do damage to it. I mean, come on.
I think maybe the removable link popped out or something, but I had checked the Robot Wars wiki and there's no information saying as to why it broke down exactly.
No, I mean, actually, to Kryptonite's only credit, like, okay, the weapon isn't that great and the armor's not shit, but at least it wasn't, like, slow as fuck or something.
No, it was quite brisk across the arena. But you know how I described Cat 3 as a poor man's Dominator? I would say Kryptonite's a poor man's Cat 3. They're both trapezoid...
Damn.
They're both trapezoid-shaped robots with axes and two-wheel drive, long axes. The axes can't really do much damage. The only difference is that Kryptonite breaks down.
Actually, I was going to say, I agree with you more, because my original comparison is going to be a poor man's Exterminator, but no, I agree with that entirely. Yeah, it is a poor man's Cat 3, which is a poor man's Dominator 2.
Can you imagine if Kryptonite and Cat 3 actually faced each other?
Well, I think Cat 3 would still win.
Easily.
Yeah, it would still win.
All Cat 3 would have to do is just drive into it, and that would be it. And then maybe if it got an axe hit on it, it would easily go through.
I mean,
Cat 3's axe would actually do damage.
I mean, watching the battle again, it actually did seem like Major Tom's disc actually was the one that killed it. Because after hitting it just stops, like lifts the axe back up and then just stops entirely.
I think it dented the armor already, and that was a sign of what was to come. And when I saw this episode first time around, all I could remember of Kryptonite was how it got shredded like tinfoil.
It was one of the best. I think it's probably one of the most destroyed robots in the first round, probably along with Rohog.
Plasma welded shell. I mean,
there's a picture of Sir Kilowog putting it into the pit, and it just doesn't look like the same robot. It's just shredded.
Well, you know what Jonathan Pierce was saying? He was saying, you bring a lump of junk into the arena, then we'll trash it up and everything. That's what.
Yeah, I mean, this team does have a bad record of being destroyed, because, as we mentioned before, they came up with Diabolus in Series 7, and the post-image... Like, the thing about Diabolus is, the damage to it doesn't look too bad when you see it in the arena. Like, you saw the panel came off and a bit of damage, fair enough, but there's a picture of it afterwards in the pit, and it just looks...
It got its face eaten off.
Like, there was none of it left, it seems like. There's frames battered, the weapon's just entirely fallen out. It just looks...
Like, Diabolus had a blood splatter paint effect on the front of the robot. I can't think of a more fitting paint effect after its match.
There's even, like, part of the armor where I can't even tell where it came from. There's just this piece of metal just twisting out of it somewhere. It doesn't look like it's any part of the robot. And it's just... It looks so sad. I mean... I'd argue that Diabolus looked worse than Kryptonite after the battle, but it's a very small margin. Like, there's not much difference between how much damage they took. It's just... And also the fact that Major Tom managed to KO a robot is pretty funny, but also kind of sad at the same time.
And Major Tom will go on to face them again as Diabolus.
I mean, is there a reason why it's called Kryptonite as opposed to just Kryptonite? Or
They said it was meant to be a pun.
On what?
I didn't get it.
On what?
I don't know.
I mean, I know it's Kryptonite, but what's the clip bit? I know... If someone can explain that in the comments, please, I don't get it.
Maybe eclipse you, so it's Kryptonite.
So it doesn't actually hurt you, it just clips you. Alright, cool.
I don't fucking know.
It doesn't hit you then. It just clips you.
It's basically an example of a bad robot that we love to hate.
Oh, yes. I mean, it's up there with Twister, really, in my opinion. It's... I mean, I think arguably Twister's worse because of just how overcomplicated the robot is from an experienced team, but...
Yeah.
You can't hate on it too much. There was a bunch of disabled people that made it, so...
No, but they made two good robots in the past, though. What are you talking about? also, they're deaf. They're deaf. They've still got all the body still works apart from that. They still make shit.
Shut up. Shut up. Just let me defend it.
No, I'm not defending. Yeah. You can't defend Twister on my show. That is not allowed. It's terrible.
You can't pick on the handicapped people, alright?
I'm not picking on the handicapped people, I'm picking on the handicapped people's robot. It's different.
He's not picking on the people because they're handicapped. He's picking on the people because they made a bad robot and they just happen to be handicapped.
Yeah, exactly. It's like making fun of accidents, and you can't make fun of him because the guy's in a wheelchair. I am making fun of accidents. A shit robot. He still had arms. He still made the robot.
Wait, the guy... I didn't even know the guy who made accidents was in the wheelchair.
Yeah, he was in the wheelchair.
Yeah. I thought that, because you see, up until then, I thought the only Robot Wars team member that was ever in a wheelchair was Lawrence Burke from the Overkill team.
No, he was also in a wheelchair as well.
No, they let him pilot his robot from the House Robots control booth.
Yeah, because he couldn't get out properly.
I thought it was the son that was driving the robot.
No,
Oh no, we're talking about accident, aren't we?
In that accident case, it was only just him, yeah. But in the case of Overkill, it's kind of funny because in series 4, in series 3, they seem to have no access for him. So he just had his son, him and Tintu just in there, and he was just kind of like not there.
Yeah. Like they saw the guy couldn't walk, and the producers were just like, "Well, nothing we could do."
Shit. Couldn't they just like use that like lifter thing? They have the cherry picker thing. They could just use that, maybe. I don't know. I'm talking about series.
The Robot Wars producers were just basically not very kind to disabled people. Well, in general, except for unless you were deaf. I don't know.
Yes, of course.
And of course,
but a video on the Robot Wars producers in series 3 is coming up in the future.
And of course, Brian Kilburn from Plunderbird, he is visually challenged himself. So that's another one. But
is he?
Yeah, he's blind.
I didn't know that actually.
Yeah, they mentioned it in Robot Wars once.
All right. Well, I don't remember when. I didn't know that. Sorry, I didn't know that. But the more you learn,
it was in series 4, I think. They mentioned it as a joke, but then it turned out he is actually blind.
Yeah,
that's probably why I didn't notice it then.
Julia was basically like, right, I understand that one of you is blind, and then Mike Collins was like, hey, come on, my driving's not that bad, and then Brian's like, no, I think she means me.
I love they can have fun with it. I love they have fun with it at least. Oh, the moment has come though to talk about one of the worst robots of Series 5, but Owain's apparently now ships me for life with it.
It's a bad robot. You know how Kryptonite's a bad robot you love to hate? This is an example of a bad robot you can't tell but love.
Oh, I'm the opposite. I just no.
I love it.
I'll defend it if you want, but this is Monad. I mean,
I believe you mean Monad Nicholson.
Oh, God, I'm sorry, I completely forgot.
You're right there, Mark.
He's not familiar with the way of the Monad yet. Yes, the guys who brought us such classic robots as 4x4, which had a rag which didn't actually cause any tangling effect, and Topbot, whose disc fell off in 2 seconds. Monad, who actually, the funniest, actually Joe's really sad actually before we talk about Monad itself, is that Topbot, because Deitor retired from main combat in Series 5, Topbot was the Irish representation in Series 7. And actually tried to get into the World Championship for Ireland and lost. So that's how good they were. But Monad,
well,
oof.
Oh boy.
I mean, taking all the joking aside about certain things that Owain's been talking about, just talking about the robot, it is possibly one of the ugliest robots I've seen. Like, there's robots like PS Resistance which sort of like have a style that's kind of ugly, like they were kind of purposely bit cheap, but they kind of ran with a kind of a weird style and just made it their own. I just don't. I mean, I said before, this is a robot that actually looks like it wants to die. It does not look well. Like, the face looks really sad. The jaws just kind of fell out of the robot.
The jaw mechanism.
It's kind of got, but in the sense, it has that sort of endearing quality to it. I feel like it's just made up of all this crap and junk that's been put together with all these hazard signs all over it. And the team probably just thought to themselves, you know what, this is a bad robot. Let's just have fun with it. So I love the little flashing lights for eyes on the front. I love the loud petrol engine it has and how it just sort of does wheelies. And I love the tapes on the exhaust fan at the back as well.
You can clearly say it was made out of an exhaust fan at some point. Like, I imagine those tapes they didn't stick on; they were just part of the exhaust fan. They just kept it on. Like, and also it's got so much ground clearance, and I love the wheelies it does.
Easily one of the most pathetic-looking robots.
And also
robust design according to strengths. Are you sure?
Yeah, I mean, one thing I absolutely adore about it though, and I like this with a lot of petrol robots, is that there's something kind of endearingly pathetic about it. This also applies to Prometheus in Series 3. When the petrol engine just dies. And it's just silent. Like, you hear this kind of all over the time, and then it hit the pit button, it kind of backed off, hit Tiberius, and it kind of went, and it's just, it's like the first time, like, you feel like, what's this sound? It's called silence. It's just funny
sounded like it sounded like it was starting to get a bit quieter once it hit the pit release button. It was like, it just goes.
It was moving really slowly when it hit the pit button. It sort of like almost didn't move. Then it just kind of went backwards, kind of bounced into Tiberius, and then officially it just went completely silent. I mean,
it buckled quite easily to Tiberius as well, but it went silent not because Tiberius crushed it, but because it just bumped into Tiberius after one hit too many. I think.
I mean, give Prometheus some credit. At least the reason why it went silent was because like half of its internals fell out when Weldor picked it up. Like Monad just kind of like, I mean, how did the jaws fall out?
I don't know. It's one of the most complicated and sophisticated weapon systems you can have in a robot. How the fuck do they just fall out?
And the armor's the greatest thing ever. I mean, it just peeled off.
It crumpled. It
didn't even crumple. Like at first, Tiberius just kind of got behind it, and then just started lifting up, and it had a little like plaster on it as well, which is hilarious. And
plaster already, and it's not even been in battle.
Well, it's been in the qualifiers probably, and this is the sad.
Of course, yes.
This thing qualified, which is hilarious to me. Like, imagine
Cat 3, right? Cat 3 earlier on failed to qualify, but they let it in as a discretion anyway, or something like that.
I hope this was a discretion, for the love of Christ.
This thing still had the fucking sticker labels on the sides of the robot from where they bought the metal.
Yeah, and most of Monad went into 4x4, which probably explains why 4x4 did really well. Clearly.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, 4x4 is just sort of like a slightly beefed up version of Monad, and that says a lot, but...
You can tell that 4x4 was literally the chassis of Monad.
At least 4x4 was more of a robot than that thing, at least.
Yeah.
I mean, what really pissed me off about 4x4 the most is that it never got destroyed by hitting a disc. And that really, when I was younger, I was so pissed off because I saw that thing and went, I want to see it get destroyed, and it never did.
Well, like, Monad, we never saw that kit destroyed either because Tiberius crumpled it and then pushed it into the pit before the house robots could let rip.
I know,
Imagine what would happen to it if the house robots got their way with it, because you had Sergeant Bash and Shunt in the arena. Shunt would have easily destroyed the top of it.
Imagine if they had a worse opponent than Tiberius. Imagine if they had fucking Pussycat or something.
Actually, I do love this little sentence about Monad in describing its battle against Tiberius 2. It says, Monad escaped after Tiberius 2 let go, trying to use its pincers to grab hold of Tiberius 2, but to no effect as they dangled loose from Monad's front end, which sounds like a porn thing. This is even more porn analogies of this robot now.
Yeah, sorry.
Dangled loose from its end. Ooh. Somebody will like that, apparently.
Makes
your wife you're
small.
talking about.
Shut up, you! But I think again, the face though makes me laugh because I love actually the best thing that is that the mouth of the robot is actually on the jaws, so when it fell off, the mouth's falling off as well.
Oh,
which is
the
kind
robot
of
was literally having a stroke.
It was having some kind of like aneurysm or something. It was not doing well. Like there's robots. I mean, there's robots like Androne 4000 that just had a pissing contest, and then there's robots like Monad who just shout all their electronics out. And it was almost like there was an emergency eject button for the electronics to save it all for later, but it never really worked. And
I tell you what that was, actually. I'll tell you what that was. That was the hamster inside Monad that was powering it. He realized the robot was breaking apart, so he tried to escape through the claws, but the claws got snagged on something, so they were just dangling off.
Yeah,
maybe perhaps they edited the footage in such a way that they don't see the hamster running away from the robot when the engine dies.
And the hamster's just like, abort mission!
It's like it's like one of those conspiracy theories that the audience claims to have seen, but the cameras hide it, and the BBC strenuously denies any animals were potentially harmed in making a robot Wallace.
It's just ninja sheep, and that's it. And that sheep from Landsea that got burnt. The only animals that got harmed in this series.
What about the rat on top of? What about the mouse that was on top of hard cheese?
Oh no, he got patched up with plasters. He's fine.
Oh
he was okay.
Fine.
And of course, Amy from 101, she was going to crucify Super Bunny on 101, but I think she changed her mind at the last minute.
That wasn't her decision apparently as well.
No.
No, apparently they did that as a joke just for like the camera bit before the battle, but they were never really going to put it on.
That's good.
I know, but after all
Hamish was on All Talk, but
Hamish was just a little caveman guy. What do you expect?
Sorry, what were you saying about Super Bunny?
Oh no, I was going to say something. It was just about Monad actually. I was going to say after all this shit we've given it, and
you still love it.
I know I do, but joking
still love it.
I do as well. But joking all aside about it, it's still not the worst robot to lose in the first round of Series 5.
It is.
It's not the worst. It really isn't.
What was the worst then?
Well, there's a few that come to mind. Juggernaut 2.
Yes.
Better than Monad.
Oh, there's a Scottish robot for you. Juggernaut 2. There you go. There's one for you.
Granny's Revenge. That was a bad one.
Granny's Revenge. No. Granny's Revenge was meant to be bad. That was meant to be bad.
We can count Granny's Revenge in that argument.
I didn't think much of Ruff Dougal either.
No, I still think robots like Twister and Juggernaut are worse. But Monad's in the top 5, but it's not the absolute worst. It's still there's at least
in the top 5 for me.
Kryptonite's probably my top 10, but not my top 5 because I don't know. It's one of those robots I just don't care enough about to even put on a higher list.
Decapitator better not be on that list.
No, Decapitator's not. It's a joke.
Yeah. Surely Rohog's in your top 5.
Oh yeah, Rohog's definitely my top 5. I think it's a tie between. I think it's either Twister or Juggernaut 2 is my least favorite from Series 5. Monad's probably like 4th maybe or 3rd, but it can't be the worst. I mean, it's a really bad robot by all means, but I can't say it's the worst thing ever because it just isn't.
Because she will beat your ass as soon as you get home.
Well, there's also Napalm. Napalm is slow as fuck.
That was horrible.
This version, the Series 5 version of Napalm was just appalling. Like, say what you want about the Series 2/3 version, but at least it was like, at least it survived to the end of battles. Like, Napalm just barely moves. Napalm 2.
I'll say it again. Napalm wasn't a combat robot. It was a wheelchair cosplaying as a combat robot.
Yes, and like this thing was an air conditioner posing as a robot.
In series, I'll be honest. In series 2, I thought Napalm did look pretty badass, but then I was a lot younger back then, and I didn't know better.
No, series 2.
And the blade color looks good.
No, for series 2, Napalm wasn't bad. It was just when it became all combat. That's when Napalm lost it, because they were, it's big. It had like a nice wedge on it. It looked visually nice for series 2. It's just series 3.
And then it moved.
Yeah, and then and also
they never really made any repair jobs to it in the subsequent wars and everything, so the robot became quickly outdated.
And when they
fucking admitted that they didn't even touch it between series 2 and 3.
And it's fun. It's kind of funny because you see it in series 2 and it looks all like nice and red and bright, and in series 3 it's just like grey and brown. It's like it's just really been through a lot.
And then it gets absolutely fucked against Stegosaurus.
I guess then we'll move on to the first round of this heat. I mean, there's not really... is there any highlights, really? Because, I mean, Mini-Morg...
Yes, there is. There's the entirety of Monad versus Tiberius to talk about.
But we're not going there first. We're going to see Cat 3 versus Mini-Morg, because that was the first battle to be shown on television. And, well, we've already sort of discussed it. Cat 3 could drive, but the axe seemed to keep stalling. And Mini-Morg could only ever seem to drive in a straight line and only ever turned on a very slow turning circle.
Yeah, it was basically Cat 3's fight, really, from as soon as you realised how bad Mini-Morg was moving. Although...
I will say it was one of the worst fights of Series 5, in my opinion.
It wasn't very exciting in any way.
And then Mini-Morg's axe does work, but it doesn't have much momentum on it. And Jonathan Pierce thinks it's like some... I don't remember how he described it exactly, but... Well, it wasn't particularly flattering me.
No, not really. Monad and Tiberius 2, though, that was a battle for the ages. I mean, come on.
That was fun to watch.
It was fun. I mean, it was fun watching Monad slowly disintegrate before our eyes. That was
fun.
Yeah.
I just felt sorry for poor Monad throughout the fight, but the right robots won the battle, and it won the battle quite convincingly. So
yeah, there's actually a shot where it shows Monad from the front, where the claws are just about falling out, and you see the mouth is really low. It looks really funny, but and yeah, Tiberius just dominating that match. Clipped Major Tom. I mean, Jesus. Just Jesus. That's all I've.
They sort of just spar around each other for a little while, and then Kryptonite takes a bump, stops moving. Matilda and Killot come in. Tinfoil shredded, pushed in the pit. The end.
I mean, there's a shot where Matilda looks like it's entering Kryptonite. Like it just rips the entire arse out of it.
And the thing is, that's not as time goes by, it just starts collapsing on its own accord, because when Killot picks it up after a little while, one of the wheel guards just drops off on its own accord.
Yeah.
Fashion.
It just
you gotta wonder the build quality of some of these fucking robots, haven't you?
I do wonder about these sometimes. Like they thought this armor was going to be successful. I mean, wow. And then Panic Attack.
Hypnodisc entered Robot Wars 2 years ago.
Yeah.
These people did not see Hypnodisc or Pussycat in the last year.
Or even look at Berserk 2. That armor managed to stain Hypnodisc. You know, that was actually decent armor, and that was like Series 3. And hell, even some robots in Series 2 had okay armor for the time, like Mortis and stuff like that. So just get your shit together. And Panic Attack and Barber-ous was actually probably the most. It was probably Panic Attack's hardest fight, because it took ages for Panic Attack to even like get a hold of Barber-ous, because the way it is.
I think it was definitely Panic Attack's most formidable opponent in that heat.
It was the only one that gave him any trouble, like real trouble. Like I mean, Tiberius kind of like grabbed him a little bit, but this one was just like there's one bit where like it was like a really like a troubled child. You're trying to like in a supermarket, they don't know, like you're trying to like grab him, like no, and like Barber-ous just like just used its spin like massive drum to just fly over like Panic Attack about 3 times before they finally got a hold of them. And then they just their weapon just stopped, because that's how reliable Barber-ous can be at times. And
it was made of plastic.
Yeah, I mean that's the disadvantage of Barber-ous. It has a lot of damage potential. I mean, in Series 7 it killed itself.
In Series 6, I think it listed its strength. Its strength is made of plastic. Weakness made of plastic.
That's what that about sums it up.
Yeah.
And also R.I.P. the light on Panic Attack. That was a sad day.
They did stick it back on for the next round, though, didn't they?
Oh, they did, but it's just. It's
unless it was a different light, but no, I think it was the same one. But
that light on Panic Attack is actually like the House of the Dead boss's weak spot. You know, every time you face a boss in House of the Dead, you get a quick like picture of where to shoot at.
Oh, it's a bit like in Fallout, we get like percentage hits.
Yeah.
Yeah. that's like the 100% hit kill for Panic Attack, obviously. I was skimming through those battles. Then I guess now we've got the semi-final battles, or the Heat semi-final battles. God, Cat 3 versus Major Tom. Just Major Tom. That was unfortunate. Driving straight into the pit.
There isn't really much else I can say about this one.
No, it's the fact. I think, like I mentioned before, I just love the fact that it was perfect size for the pit. Like, it was just the width for it, and there's that sad picture at the very end of the battle where Major Tom's just in the pit.
Although the robot that was probably most suitable for the size of the pit was Flirty Skirty, and matching colours too, as JP put it, back in Series 2.
Oh yes, of course, the devastating skirts. Although in fairness though, if Major Tom had gone against Panic Attack, what would have happened?
Major Tom, well, that's what I was thinking, because Major Tom, if it had gone against Panic Attack, it would just have been the same story as what happened to Cat 3, pretty much.
Or Tiberius.
Because if Tiberius got through instead of Panic Attack, it would have been curtains for Major Tom, because there was a lot of stuff that they could sink the claw into. If it was Panic Attack against Major Tom, it'd be curtains for Major Tom, because Panic Attack is a lot better than Major Tom, and, well, Kim Davis would do what he always does. Major Tom doesn't have defensive power to reach Panic Attack, because Panic Attack's just too low.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of Panic Attack, they were very controlled in their Tiberius 2 fight. Like,
very controlled.
It was just so beautiful the way they were just like picking them up and just kept lifting them up, like pushing them to the house robots, going to near the flame pit. You know, Tiberius.
He had a bit of. He didn't really have much trouble taking care of Tiberius. I think he eventually did go to the pit release button and then just lowers it gracefully into the pit, and job done. Yep.
Yeah, actually, one thing I did like though is that Panic Attack was leaning over slightly because of the way the angle they put Tiberius in.
Yeah.
Like it was almost going to follow in with it, but thankfully it wouldn't have mattered anyway. But
yeah,
it's a very Panic Attack fight, really, just very controlled and very adept at doing what it's supposed to do. And also Tiberius just couldn't get a hold of Panic Attack apart from that one time, and it just didn't do anything. I mean, the side skirts just show you how low it is, really.
Yeah.
And then the Heat final was just. It was, again, very cut and dry. That was the thing about Panic Attack's fights in this Heat.
Straight in underneath Cat 3, gets underneath, there's no base plate, and the prongs actually prise the front wedge off from the inside.
They fucking peeled an armor panel off.
It's not often Panic Attack does damage to stuff, so it was pretty cool to see him do anything like that.
Cat 3 does manage to get a few strikes on Panic Attack, but it's all superficial, and eventually Cat 3 just seems to stop working because the axe stops moving, the wheels stop moving. But it doesn't matter at this stage because he's at Panic Attack's mercy. Although Kim Davis did have a lot of trouble trying to get him down the pit because he'd wedged the forks in so far.
Yeah, and
I think that's what happened to Cat 3 is the forks just fucking speared something inside.
It might have. I mean, it because of that lack of a base plate must have really been the undoing, really. I mean, it can't have been advantageous anyway. And also, JP made a mistake once again. He claimed that Panic Attack won Series 3.
Whoops.
Yeah, he actually made that mistake. That's pretty. I mean, he did call Killatron a grand finalist twice, so again,
he has to remember the details of all these robots, and there was no Robot Wars wiki in those days, so
I know, but
you could give him the benefit of the doubt.
I give him the benefit of the doubt, but then that's the champion, though. I mean, considering that Chaos 2 won 2 years in a row, it's quite hard to not remember Chaos 2 or Panic Attack or anything like that. So it's just weird that they only had 4 series to remember, mind you, with only 4 winners. But
Jay, actually.
Oh yeah, technically, yeah, 3 winners, of course. Sorry, but I don't know. It's JP though. You know what he's like. That was a really cut and dry Heat final, really. You know what I mean?
I think we talked more about Monad than we did the actual Heat.
Yeah. Well, the Heat was very kind of simple, not in a bad way. Just a lot of the fights were very kind of like to the numbers, really, by the book, if you get me. But it wasn't a bad Heat, honestly. I've seen way worse.
The first round was a lot better than the rest of the Heat. I'll say that.
I agree with that. I mean, I had more fun with the first round. I mean, Monad and Kryptonite and stuff.
Some of the best in those days. It's probably understandable why there would never be such a thing as Robot Redemption, because a lot of the robots would just be so trashed up so badly.
Yeah, they would never give him a chance to do that again.
Plus, there were a lot less robots competing in the more recent series, so they probably picked what they deemed to be the cream of the crop, and also some robots that they just thought looked pretty cool and seemed to be relatively fixable for the next round and stuff.
Yeah,
you say cream of the crop and relatively cool. Neither of those describe Kryptonite and Monad.
Nope.
No, I don't think either of those would ever get through. But then they did let Overdoser compete, so...
What are you going to do? Out of 10...
Yeah, Overdoser was spectacular in its shitness.
That is definitely true.
And it was a Series 2 robot entering Series 8.
Out of 10, what would people give this heat? I mean, I'd probably give it like a 6, honestly, because it's not like the most exciting heat ever, but at least there wasn't anything like too terrible about it. It was at least above average because Panic Attack was decent. You had some funny clips tonight, Monad and barber-ous stuff, and there was no like bullshit in it at any point. It felt like all the matches were done legitimately.
It's a heat of two halves for me, pretty much. I would give it probably 7, actually, because the first round battles were all pretty fun to watch, I think. Although, I mean, even Mini Morg and Cat 3 was just a good fight to start off with. But in the second round, the Panic Attack Tiberius fight was quite good. Not so much for Major Tom and Cat 3, and in the Heat Final, the Heat Final I didn't think was a particularly good Heat Final in terms of how boring and one-sided it pretty much got, so...
I would give it a 5, because there's only really one good fight in this entire heat.
Yeah.
The rest were average to shit. The only reason it's remembered is because of how shit some of the first round robots were.
Yeah, the robots remembered more than the heat.
Yeah.
Pretty much. But
so, like, the only fight really worth watching back was Panic Attack versus barber-ous.
Definitely.
That was the best one.
Oh, hands down, definitely. But
aside from that, you get boring ass Panic Attack fights with some jobber robots that shouldn't have really been in the series in the first place.
Oh god, definitely. But yeah, that was Heat J, and coming up is also Heat K. Oh, I don't like this heat that much. I mean, I don't know. It's because it's just a Razor heat, and naturally, I'm not a big fan of Razor, so this will be a fun heat to do.
This is the only episode Suicidal Tendencies was in where it didn't reach the third round.
Yeah, that's true, actually, yeah. I mean, speaking of Razor, obviously Razor's going to be the future champion, and this is the first series it actually works all the way through, which is a miracle by Razor's terms.
It looks more aesthetically pleasing as well, with the wheel guards on the front of the robot as well, because it didn't have those before.
No, I think that was partially because like Panic Attack fucked them up in Series 4.
Yeah.
So they really need to protect the wheels a lot more. Not the back wheels,
Panic Attack, Pussycat, you mean?
Pussycat, sorry, yeah.
I was about to say, there's never fought Panic Attack.
I'm still focused on Heat J, obviously.
he's still sidetracked looking up his monad porn.
Oh, definitely, yes. I've got millions of tabs open right now.
Razor's a pretty robot. I just never really enjoyed watching it battle because it always crumpled things up and just pushed stuff in the pit. It was a bit... I don't know.
It was very one note in its battles.
Yeah.
Can you imagine Razor against Monad?
That'd be hilarious, actually. I'd pay to see that.
It'd be the same as Tiberius, but a lot faster and probably deeper as well.
And
Razor wouldn't have let Monad get to the pit release.
Just said?
And then there's the Heat finalist, Rick. Heat finalist, apparently.
Well, we're one of two minds, because it did lose its first round fight.
But it came back again. It's like the Morg. Except, unlike the Morg, it didn't get a seed next series and didn't do as well. So
it didn't even enter the next series.
Exactly. It came back in Series 7, though.
I think Francis Galka, though, he did learn from his mistakes last time. His robot, although it couldn't self-right, it does have the ability to now run both ways up.
I will admit, actually, I mean, Rick isn't the greatest thing ever, but I do like it aesthetically. I like how compact it is. Like
it's a far upgrade from Maverick.
Oh, Maverick, yeah, definitely. Maverick has a little tiny little panel, like little spatula flipper thing on the front of it. Well, this thing, like, again, it might not have performed as well, but I do actually admire like robots that are very compact, like Magnetar / Pulsar, those kind of robots. And I do like this. And I do like this kind of thing. Like, I do like the fact it's invertible, got a little flipper on it. I mean, the spinner's not that great, but I think maybe we just put more into emphasis on the flipper. It actually could have been like a... Like, just looking at that robot, I'll go, that's a very competitive-looking robot. I like it. I mean, it didn't perform that well, but, you know, I'll give it credit. It was okay.
Expulsion was another example of how compact it got compared to its predecessor of the same name. So.
Oh, definitely, yeah. That was bulky in Series 9, but in Series 10 they made it a lot more like that little windmill thing. They made it a lot more compact.
Still not a good robot, but definitely better than the one they had before.
Oh, definitely. Then there's the awesome rivalry of Widow's Revenge.
I fucking love Widow's Revenge for how shit it was.
It's probably one of the worst, like aesthetically, one of the least aesthetically pleasing robots in Series 5. Like, it looks like a Series 2 robot.
Did they describe it as a refrigerator or something, like one of the other teams?
Yeah, well, it wouldn't surprise me if it was a refrigerator, honestly.
You realise that
if you ever want to show what girl power is like in Robot Wars, this is not it.
Also, I've got to say, if you want to show girl power as well, don't make your weapons a pizza cutter and a rolling pin.
you realise this robot would never get past the fucking qualification stages these days because of how triggered some people would be seeing it.
So this is just all the worst feminine stereotypes while they try to come across as feminists. It doesn't work. If you want a good example of a positive female role model for potential budding female roboteers, then look at Georgina from Expulsion. Look at Felicity from Clause 2, for example. Those are
Tomahawk.
good. Yes, Fiona Van... what's her name? Vandermeer... Sorry, I keep getting the names mixed. Anita Vandermeer, that was it. Sorry, Anita.
Hell, Sarah Malian.
Oh, Sarah Malian, yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's loads of them nowadays. There's
Hazel, and from the classic series, there was Hazel Heslop as well, the Firestorm team.
Of course, yeah. And also the Cat 3 guys were pretty...
The Cat 3 girls, yes.
They were good. And also, actually, the person who captained M2 as well. I forgot terrible names.
And also the woman from Chompalot as well.
The woman from General
Carnage? Yes. There's a lot of good female representation. This is probably one of the better ones. It's just got put in purely because they wanted some kind of fake rivalry with the Razor Boys, and only one of them was actually even related close to being...
I do, however, love their fight with Razor. Just because of the comedy aspect of it.
Oh, it was funny. I mean, it's funny how Matilda even didn't give a shit.
Yeah. I love Jonathan Pierce losing it with laughter.
Yeah. Yes. And actually, the cool thing...
And then it pans up to the control booth, and they're holding up signs with insults for the Razor team.
Actually, one that's quite cool is that Gillian Blood later married Ian Lewis. And now she was Gillian, and she's on the Series 8 team for Razor.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. It's a little kind of like...
You could tell by that very distinctive accent it's the same person.
Yeah, definitely. But that's pretty cool though. I mean, even though like Vinny Blood wasn't like around in Series 8, at least he was kind of there. Like he was there in representation in another way. But yeah, I mean, if this was just a regular robot, like with no nothing even trying close to getting related to Razor Team, it wouldn't have got in. It's just it was a charity robot though, I think. So
yeah, I can't remember the exact charity organization, but it was fighting against breast cancer, and they had it plastered on the top of the robot.
Yeah, it had that little kind of like puzzle piece shape to it, didn't it? That was the kind of the symbol for it.
Yeah, women's breast cancer, I think the charity was for.
That's probably a reasonable guess. I think it's probably like a women's charity, but it's definitely not that pleasing. Again, it does look very Series 2, but again, the team makes up for it really, and just the fun kind of like it's not really a rivalry, but fuck it, we'll just play it up. It's like Extreme, like Plunderbird and Chrome Lock type of thing.
It is a very triggering robot, though, considering the amount of empty space in there and the reverse wedges on the side of the robot.
And it's still 100 kilograms, by the way. Can you believe it? I mean, its strength is girl power, so yeah, awesome. I mean, Joe also represents girl power, the opposite end of the spectrum, Destructor Bubble, obviously.
Yeah.
Getting in there with the Union Jack bowler.
That one with the mother-in-law's tongue.
Yes. And the weird wink.
I don't care what anyone says. I fucking love Destructor Bubble.
Oh no, I do love how dumb it is. Like it's just so large. Like it is. How tall is this thing? It is like it's 1 meter tall and 1.2 meters wide. It's just incredibly large, and at least managed to win a fight this series. Which is like, I mean. The only reason they lost in Series 4 is because they really didn't do anything, and they were against Kilohertz and Eric, so, you know.
Who did they beat in Series 5?
Accident.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll get to that then.
Yeah, because Accident just broke down for no reason. I don't know what happened.
In Series 4, they were up against John Reed and God themselves. They weren't going to win.
No, and I love the fact this thing entered the sumo.
John Reed before his John Reedisms pretty much came along.
Yeah, actually, John Reed just kept trying to pop that bubble multiple times. He just axed it. I mean, my favorite part.
Imagine if Shunt got a hold of it.
It would just disintegrate. It shouldn't got a hold of that thing. It was just holes everywhere.
Shunt did get a hold of it, didn't they?
No, I don't think Shun got a hold of it in Series 4. In Series 5, they might have a little jab at it, but I don't think they really got much into it.
I remember a distinct picture of Shunt lifting up Destructor Bubble while it's axed.
Oh, yeah, that'll be Series 5, because it didn't get hold of it in Series 4. It was just Kilohertz that axed it in Series 4. It also entered the sumo, which made me laugh in Series 4 as well. Just this giant.
They lasted quite a while as well.
Yeah, they actually didn't do that.
But
they actually didn't do that badly, surprisingly.
I love the fact that Destructible has actually got merchandise, whereas Behemoth hasn't.
Also, a giant bit of bullshit I'm going to have to call out here. On the stat board, once again, its strength, apparently, was it had experienced Roboteers. What, just one series? And they were, I mean, I wouldn't call that experienced. I mean, that's like saying that the reactor team were experienced. You know, I mean, they weren't bad, but it's the same kind of thing. But I mean, technically at this point, Tornado been in as many series as Destructible, but Tornado actually got far. So just because you've been in another series doesn't mean you're gonna be good.
I've been in one Ant-Wait World series, and I still don't consider myself particularly experienced yet. So
yeah, I mean, you can't really, after one series, you can't say, "Right, I'm a pro. I've done this now. I'm gonna beat everyone." But
lol.
But also, I love the new weapon on it. They had the tongue in Series 4, and this time they have this giant pickaxe thing.
The fucking Arnold A. Terminator axe, they just sellotaped onto the bubble.
Which was even weaker than Arnold's Terminator's axe somehow. It's a giant pickaxe thing.
It's so stupid, but I love it.
Oh, it's great.
Again, this thing has a toy. Behemoth does not.
Then there's Suicidal Tendencies, R.I.P., who had to
Best
forfeit.
version of Suicidal Tendencies, in my opinion.
And of course, it's the one that had to forfeit in after the first round.
Yes.
And reinstate Rick. I mean, it's a shame because I would love seeing like these guys against Razor. I mean, I'm not saying they would have won, but it'd be nice to have a little Crusher battle. Yeah.
Oh no, they would definitely not have won because they got a nice flat surface that Razor could have just easily gone through.
Yeah, this is definitely the best version though. Because I mean, the Series 4 version does look too like the weapons were so tiny. Like the lifter did some stuff, but that little axe.
That little axe was just
pointless. In all means of
the
word, pointless.
By annoyance.
It was like it was so bad. It was almost as good as the one that was on Wedgehog, and that was a middleweight. So Jesus, but
want another comparison? Anarachophobia.
Oh, yeah, but at least that one moved fast though. Suicidal Tendencies just kind of like it just like once, and it would like tap a little bit, like that bit when it was grabbing Maverick. And actually, there was a rematch. Now I think about it. It was grabbing Maverick, and he lifted up, and it was just axing it with a little spike. Like, take this. Like, do damage.
I'm not really impressed with this new Suicidal Tendencies. It's a bit wider than the old one, but the Crusher weapon, it just, I don't think it works.
You don't think so?
It's not. It's just the shape of it, I suppose. I think the wedge looks better on it than the spikes did, and well, I suppose the Crusher would work better than that. It's just about aesthetics at the end of the day, I think.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, it's definitely. I think it's an improvement over the other two.
If the Crusher was maybe slightly smaller, it would look better. But looking at the picture now, actually, it doesn't look half bad. It's just maybe why did it have to withdraw in the second round anyway?
Broke down.
Yeah, I think they just couldn't repair it in time or something. I
101 was in the next heat, and the curse lifted over to Suicidal Tendencies.
Yeah, at least they got to beat up Napalm in Extreme. So
yeah,
that was fun to watch.
And once again, this robot has a toy. Behemoth does not. This robot has two toys actually.
Two toys, and
it has the mini bot and it has the board game piece.
Oh, it does, doesn't it? Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, that's the toy I was on about with Destructible. It has a board game piece.
Jesus Christ!
I have them.
Do you?
Yeah.
Holy crap! It's amazing. Is the board game any good?
Nope.
No. Okay. Just thought it was worth asking. Speaking of not very good, something.
Oh come on!
Okay, well, as a robot, I mean.
It's crap, but it's good crap.
It's the last time we get to see something as well.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit of a shame.
No, it's not. We see him in the tag team in Series 6 as well.
I'm talking about main series.
You see him in Series 6 as well?
Oh, do you?
Yes.
I completely forgot it's in Series 6. Jesus. I don't remember it in... Well, what was it doing in Series 6? I don't even remember.
It lost the first round again.
That's probably why I didn't remember it being in Series 6.
I think it was Dominator and Hydra it lost to.
Oh, yes, it was. Yeah, Dominator and Hydra. And also Accident was there as well.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, there's a lot of crossbreeding in these heats. Yeah, oh yeah, I just looked in the wiki now, yeah. vaguely remember that, but I still can't.
And then the last ever time we'd see it was in a tag team where it lost to Megamorg.
Yeah, and this thing lost to Widow's Revenge, so I mean, just wow. I mean, I love Dig though. Dig is just one of the greatest characters ever. He's very underrated as well. Like a lot of people don't seem to remember him as much. Like he's the big characters, but he wasn't like a big like Plunderbird Chromalot like character. He was more just kind of like a bit of an enthusiastic, a bit like the guy from Cerberus. I think it's Theo. His name was
Theo Kalkufa. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you can actually pronounce his last name. Brilliant. I could never remember his last name.
I swear to God, those two are identical twins.
They might as well be related at some point. But yeah, I love Dig. I just love like he just refuses to make his robot like upgrade. Just keeps it as that kind of nice grungy aesthetic and the scrap look.
I think him and John Frizzle probably would get on pretty well with each other because they both go for the more grungy sort of low tech aesthetics with their robots.
Oh, I just realised a Dig John Frizzle Team Death matchup. Holy crap!
Jesus.
That'd be like the greatest and worst thing ever at the same time. I would love. Actually, if that can happen, I mean, they're all three of them are still around. So if you want, two of them are still in combat. So if you wanna get that going, I'll be happy with that. But
one thing I've always wondered with something.
What's that?
I wonder if you touch it, would you get instant tetanus?
No, I think that's tetanus you'd do that with.
Yeah.
You probably get some other weird like disease off this thing. Like, I don't know, but I just imagine it like... I don't know why, but I imagine if I touch this thing, I'd just get oil stains on me.
Oh, yeah.
That's all I just can't imagine, like, ever wanting to touch this thing. Like, it looks nice, but, like, keep it away from me, please.
Like, you touch it, oh, fuck, blood poisoning.
Yeah, like, you touch it, oh, shit, my whole, like, I'm just black now. Like, all just covered in oil. Like, fuck. This is gonna take
the robot wasn't probably not painted black, it was probably silver, and it just got lots of oil all over it, and now it looks black.
It was originally gold. and now I'm joking. It wasn't originally gold. But the fact you believe that makes sense.
Don't go playing with my emotions like this.
I was joking.
Cool it was.
It was originally gold, but then Dig went, no, just put it in the scrapyard for a bit, and then...
I wanted the shiny something, goddammit.
Oh, shiny something, but like bronze or something. I don't know. It would be the same, but the saw's blue. That'd be it. It was just shit shinies that didn't change much. I'm looking at you, Garchomp.
I'm just thinking about Homer Simpson, who's all covered in gold and laughing and everything and stuff. And I think it was something in its place and everything.
No. Series 11 gets announced, and something enters with a gold paint scheme, wins the entire thing.
Yeah. It has to be shiny, very shiny.
Shiny.
It fucking blinds its opponents in the control booth.
Yeah. And then we have one of your favourite robots, Big Nipper, of course.
Oh, I fucking love Big Nipper.
Big Nipper's a really cool... I mean, this is the first version when it was a bit more boxy and the weapon didn't have the... like, it wasn't a full... It just lifted at the front. It didn't, like, the whole arm didn't lift up. It managed to break, like, Razor's Self-Righter right at the beginning, so that was pretty funny.
It did hold its own against Razor for quite a while, didn't it?
Yeah, it was definitely I mean, again, if it wasn't against Razor, a bit like Trouble and Strife and Gravedigger, it actually would have been a decent competitor. Like, at least maybe Heat Final at a push. But one thing I liked is that when they came back in Series 7, because obviously they didn't enter Series 6, and then they just came back in Series 7 with the version that looks more familiar to what we have nowadays. And I love the comment from when Jane asked him, why did you take 2 years to come back, and Graham said, we decided to build a proper robot this time. And honestly, I'm very glad they spent that time. They spent that time a lot wisely, because they got to the Heat Final, had a very good match against Grim Reaper. Like, that was one of the closest battles of the whole series.
Yeah, that was one of the best battles of Series 7.
And they didn't do as well in Series 8 when they came back, but in Series 10, I mean, Jesus. Actually managed to beat Aftershock, which was amazing.
Got through also scored the highest out of the arena.
Oh, against is it Crackers or Smash? I forget one was the black
Smash
one. It was Smash.
And this was with a spinning weapon rather than with an actual flipper. So kudos to them for that.
It's funny because
and they lasted long into the 10-way rumble too.
Yeah, they did actually. Yeah, it was actually they kind of like a little silent assassin in the rumble.
They were silent assassin, and they were actually dispatched silently as well because it was Dead Metal that put them in the pit, and it was not really noticed. It wasn't really covered on camera. Jonathan Pierce didn't even mention it.
Well, yeah, just cut back to it. It's something like in the pit.
The eliminated, wasn't it?
It was one of the last. It was like the third one to be eliminated. Like after, it was just before Apollo, I think.
It was the fourth one because it was Terahertz. Because
Terahertz, yeah.
Then Apollo.
My favorite
Terahertz and Apollo were the last two to be eliminated, and I think Big Nipper was before Terahertz.
The best part was when it tried to climb out of the pit.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not happening. Once you're in the pit, you're in the pit, mate. And it's just trying to get out of the pit. It was hilarious. But yeah, this is the version of the Big Nipper. Again, it's not the refined version we'd see in Series 7 onwards, but you gotta admit, it's still a pretty cool robot even for the time. Like, the idea is really cool. Like,
I think Jonathan Pierce had said during the battle that the Big Nipper is full of resolve, if nothing else. So
yeah, and that was definitely true for it in Series 7 as well, and Series 10.
Yeah.
And then, last but not least, we have Accident.
Less.
I mean, it really did have an accident.
You can forgive this guy for... You can forgive this robot for not being very good.
Can you?
It was built by a guy who can't walk.
Does that really excuse building, though? I mean, do you really need...
Overkill GTI was built by a guy who couldn't walk, and that was pretty solid robot.
I mean, his hands still worked.
Yeah.
It's not like it's not just because he couldn't walk didn't mean that he couldn't build a good robot. I mean, again, it's like Berserk. Just because they couldn't hear doesn't mean they couldn't build a good robot.
I mean, I think it's easy enough to say that there are lots of able-bodied people in Robot Wars who make worse robots than this.
Yeah, Accident is not the worst thing ever. I mean, there are people... I mean, there was a team of, like, 4 people who ended up making 3 Sticks to Heaven.
And this is why I'm such a twat when I'm on your podcast.
You're not a twat.
Because when I try to be nice, you guys are just shutting me up. I try to be nice, and you're all going, "Oh, shut up, Owen. You're Welsh."
I didn't say that. I didn't say that, but I can say.
I try to be fucking nice.
I can say that if you want. Shut up, Owain. You're Welsh. There we go.
Oh, fuck off.
Wait, you have to go for the Mini-Morg team approach, the Dorian approach, and everything, and just be shameless about it in the good way and stuff. And
Actually, I mean, one thing about Accident. I mean, this is one of the last things we'll talk about. But in terms of Accident, I've got that collection on somewhere of pathetic robots after they've been destroyed. Series 6 Accident, with the axe just falling out of it.
Yeah.
And after the arena flipper, and it's just this axe and like the kind of the belt driving it, and then there's just like this oval shaped robot just lying on its side.
Series 6 Accident only lasted a few seconds as well.
Yeah, it didn't last. In Series 6, it barely lasted. I think Hydra just flipped it over instantly.
Yeah, in Series 5, I don't really remember how it did, but it didn't get past the first round.
No,
so
it broke down bumping into Destructor Bubble. That's all it did. It just bumped into it and it just died.
Then it came back, and somehow it made it to Series 6.
I will say one thing I do like about Accident though is that if you're gonna make a robot called Accident, at least he went all the way through and went and put a giant fucking axe on it. Yeah. Like you gotta again, even like Hammertron was crap. It's this little kind of like, hinged bar spinner thing. It doesn't look very good. Like, you're gonna call something Accident, you better make it live up to it. And to be fair, at least you can say it has a giant axe, which is
you
good.
The guy backstage when someone came up to him and asked him, "What happened to your legs?" He was just like, "An accident."
Oh no. Oh.
That's pretty clever. And also before we go,
sorry.
What a brilliant point to end on. Damn.
Sorry.
It's all right.
Accident. Fucking hell.
I don't know why this.
Bastards.
Are you okay, Mark?
You've broken Mark right now. This is well done. Well done, Owain. Well done.
We should put Mark and Anthony together in a room and just see who giggles the most.
That would be a good one.
It would probably be Anthony.
I was going to say, actually, just before we end this, I don't know why this tickled me as well, because I was looking for the robots just like for the preview as well.
Laughing is hard to not good for me.
On Accident's wiki page, this makes me laugh. It's like in the very basic description bit right at the beginning. It talks about who the driver is, what series it's in, and the last bit says, its name is a pun on the word accident. No shit.
Yeah.
Like, they had to explain that on the wiki to us in case we didn't get that. Like,
how dense do they think we are?
I sound like, the name's Accident. I mean, what are the words? It's a pun on the word flower. What do you think it's supposed to be?
They probably think that the audience of Robot Wars are as stupid as the guy who did the stats board.
I mean, it's not as. I mean, there are clever. I mean, there are clever puns and that. Like I like Incredible. Like it's a shit robot, but I love the name. But Accident, Incredible.
I don't know why.
I love that name.
I don't know why it never came up. I don't know why I've never even noticed that pun until now.
Really?
No, it's just.
I mean,
oh my god!
I mean, honestly, that's what annoys me about Incredible. It's quite a weak robot, but it was put with a really cool name, and it wasted the potential of the name. And now I can't call
3 Steps to Heaven. That was another one.
That was an okay name.
With that bullshit.
I like the name, but no.
What else? What else was there? Clodhopper.
Oh, Clodhopper, that was a fun one. And Clodhopper, the brute from Techno Games. But again, we're getting so once again. I better end this. What isn't 10 hours long? I mean, it's already like an hour and 30 minutes.
And I've got to be going very soon myself anyway.
Oh shit! Yeah, I thought we'd be done by 9, but I guess not. All right then. Well, yeah, true. I guess. Well, that was Heat J going on to Heat K later. I can't remember who else is on. I know I definitely got Dan from the Robot Wars History podcast, but I can't remember the second person. I think it's Alex or Anderson. I have to check. But
I think it's Anderson. I'm not sure.
It might be Anderson. I've got my little piece of paper. I'll check that. But
if it is Alex, we're sorry, Alex. But your name begins with A anyway, so who the fuck cares?
I've definitely got Dan from Dan Gleason, so he's definitely on this one because he messaged me a while ago about that one. But in that case, I am Jimjamatic signing off.
I'm FreyFox signing off as well.
And I'm Tenty, and I'm about to just show James all the porn of Monad just because I'm an asshole.
Don't have an accident.
Bye!
Yay. I'm in a wheelchair now.